All right, good morning everyone. I'm here to quickly show you how you can create new textures and also connect Photoshop to your UVs if you'd like to directly edit them in Photoshop. So you need to have an object. It's really critical that you create a new texture. You can see in the attribute editor that this object is still assigned Lambert1. Never ever edit Lambert1. That'll blow everything up. So make sure that before you do anything, you right click on your object and hold and scroll down and assign a new material. This gives me several options. I can choose Blend, which is shiny, Lambert, which is matte, Phong, which is even shinier. There's a couple other options here, but those three are the typical candidates. I'm going to select Lambert, and you can see now I have Lambert 2. I can change the color here, let's say pink, so I know for sure that it is not Lambert 1. So this is how you would normally edit a color. You can change the transparency, you can do all sorts of things just here in the attribute editor. There's a lot more options in Hypershade, so I would definitely take the opportunity to explore that at your leisure. Now I have applied that new material to my object, and what I need to do is make sure that it has a UV map so that all of the components are going to the appropriate areas. So I'm going to go into UV in the file level menu, and I'm going to select automatic unwrap. That's a starting point. As you've seen, sometimes it does well, sometimes it doesn't. But now I have generated a quick and dirty UV map for this object. I'm going to place it into object mode, and then I'm going to open the UV editor. So now you can see I have my object here in UV editor, and in order to connect it to Photoshop, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Image. So I'm going to click on Image and create PSD network. So make sure that it's directing to the source images folder in your project. If it doesn't automatically direct here, that may mean that you have not set your project, so please make sure that that's happening. You can see that it's automatically going to open Photoshop because this box is checked. That's fine. This is the size of the file that will be generated, 1024 pixels by 1024. You can raise or lower this at your discretion based on the goals you have for that texture. What's going to happen here is it's going to include the UV snapshot on the file it's going to generate. So you can see this is going to appear in Photoshop. So the last step of this process is to associate whatever attribute that I want to have go over to Photoshop. And just like before when we selected an image to create an image reference, I'm going to choose color. Color is the attribute that I want to link to my UV map. So I'm going to click color here and this arrow to add it to selected attributes. So that all looks good. Let's go ahead and say create. And now you can see Photoshop is opening up automatically. And if all goes according to plan, we have our UV snapshot and the pink color that I assigned to Lambert 2. So over in the layers area, you can see the UV snapshot is a transparency that sits on top of that base color. And what I want to do is I want to edit layer 1 directly. So you can add layers to this, it's fine. However you'd like to handle it, it will work exactly like Photoshop as you have seen. I'm going to go ahead and draw just some squiggles on this map so you can see how it's going to be affected. So now that's all set, I'm going to go to File and Save. And the active saving should automatically update your UV. If it doesn't, I'll show you the way to manually update. I'm done here, so I can exit Photoshop, going back to my Maya file, clicking my object, and you can see here that my new squiggles have emerged. Now, sometimes you'll see things be off colors. This is not pink like it had been, it's instead gray. So you can go into Image and check and make sure that you have RGB or RGBA selected, and that'll give you a truer sense of the color that's going to be represented. All right, so now looking at my object in my scene, it doesn't look different. That's because I haven't pressed 6. If you're not seeing your texture that you've created, go ahead and press 6. Now, you'll notice that this is a little bit more intense in color than it was in Photoshop. It won't look exactly the way that it's going to render. To test that, you have to do a test render. So you'll want to create a light. So create and point light. I'm just going to pull this out and move it over to the side, and then I'll quickly do a test render to make sure that everything looks good. Arnold isn't going to see anything because I'm not using an Arnold light. I'm going to use Maya software for this and re-render. And ta-da! So you can see that the color is much truer to the one that I had in Photoshop. It's not perfect, but it's closer. So that concludes this demo on how to create a texture and link it to a Photoshop network. Thank you for watching.